What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me as always is Mr. Brian Schultz. DC Roundup. Batman 2 is finally in the works. Things that have been announced or rumored about who's going to be in that movie. The Superman. Zaslav must have gone on the phone and said, yo, get going on the next joint.
Right.
And James Gunn is being a director and writer and not a CEO. I'm sorry. But that is going to be interesting to see where that's going. Weapons Director floats a Gotham Street show. I'm all for it if certain things, and from what I read, occurs in this sort of idea. But let's start off with Batman 2, because that's something that, has been a topic of conversation for a long time as to when are we going to get cracking on that, because
it's long overdue.
He's supposed to be Batman year 2. What's going to be this, yo?
Well, Pattinson himself has been joking.
He's gotten away with all the stuff that he's gotten away with for years, and now he's on it. That ain't Batman. What's going on with Batman 2, Brian?
Well, as you said, we're officially up and running. It's happening. Filming date, everything's locked. Script is done. They're good to go. So it sounds like they're gonna be fine for their 2027, kind of Halloween 2027 release date. The latest kind of thing that won't die, though, centers around Robin. Is Robin in this movie? James Gunn was asked directly, point blank, about this, and he kind of gave like a denial, but not 100% denial. He kind of was like, no one's ever said that. He basically said there's only like 4 people that have seen the script. So how could anyone know that Robin is in this movie? But that hasn't stopped people from buzzing about it. So I'll put the question back to you. We have surmised that there is something creatively about Batman 2 that keeps bumping heads with DCU Batman and the story that James Gunn wants to tell. So if you take the comments, right, of James Gunn kind of saying like they've made progress on DCU Batman, but then saying like, hey, there's still some stuff we got to work out. And then kind of saying about the Matt Reeves script, yeah, it's a good start. There's still some stuff we got to work out. A lot of that's kind of pointing to they both want a piece of land that WB doesn't feel comfortable having 2 versions of, that they only want one of. We wondered, was it Mr. Freeze? Was it a villain? Could it be Robin? Is Robin the point of contention in this discussion? I'm just saying, like, why does this keep coming up? And is this one of those areas of, as you said, I agree. Comics fans would have no problem distinguishing Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne. Would a non-comics fan be able to do that? Would they just see, wait, we got 2 Batman and 2 Robins? Like, what's going, like, would that be a problem?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think if you go out there, if you're James Gunn, you go out there and explain the situation of what it is that Bat Reeves is doing and what we're doing. After that, there shouldn't be any confusion. This is Damian Wayne, and this is Dick Grayson.
That's just too easy. No. That's too easy. It's too easy. No. Too easy.
Jason Todd, Tim Drake, you can,
man.
There's plenty of versions of this. I get it. Carrie Kelly, like, I get it. Like, they're all out there. Now, this goes back to the other question, which we've talked about a little bit. Should Robin be in this movie? Is that a good idea by Matt Reeves if there is a Robin character in this film?
Here is where I sort of jokingly asked the question. First movie was Batman year 2. What year is he in now? What year is he in where he is capable of taking on a protege? He hasn't. I mean, in previous Batman iterations, outside of the Adam West one, there had been some time that has passed before we got to that spot. Even though I didn't like the introduction, but Chris Nolan's attempt at that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like you got Batman damn near retirement before they bring Robin or a type of Robin in there. You know what I'm saying? So right now in Batman 2, now you're giving us Robin. How much time has passed? These are the questions that fans are going to be asking.
Well, I think we know that there's very limited time has passed. I mean, Matt Reeves has told us the point of the Penguin show was a bridge between Batman Part 1 and Batman Part 2. So in theory, like, we're talking about a matter of weeks to months that has passed between Part 1 and Part 2. Like, it's not years. It's still year 2. Maybe it's year 3, depending on months leading. It's winter, maybe they're going, toward the end of the year 2, but no, it's months. So I am with you, and I think we've talked about this way back and when this first came up as a rumor. The arc of interest here is Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, in particular as Bruce Wayne, but certainly as Bruce Wayne and Batman and that dichotomy. There's a lot of material there that Reeves has laid the groundwork for. I think it would be a distraction to bring in a whole Robin character arc when that is still so unresolved. And B, to your point, there's just no credible way in my mind that Pattinson could take, unless this Robin is so young, like take a young boy, a younger character under his arm. He's too damaged as is at this point to really be the father figure or the mentor figure that we typically see Bruce playing. Now, all that said, given that this is Matt Reeves we're talking about, who we probably should give the benefit of the doubt to, given what he's given us character-wise, any chance that Robin is in this movie, but he's not with Batman?
Possibly. I think that would be the approach where he takes on this kid, but he's still on his own. And probably by the end of it, there is this urge for Robin to want to be trained by him and to want to be his go under his tutelage to be his sidekick, but not immediately in this movie within the first, I'd say, 20 minutes. I say you leave that for if there is a possibility of a Batman 3. But if there is a Batman 3, I want to see the script now, not after this movie is over.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go so far as to put them together in any capacity. I'm just wondering if Matt Reeves wants to introduce this character into the streets of Gotham and kind of like weave it into this broader landscape that the Penguin has given him, and just be like almost like James Gunn putting, his version of Green Lantern or Hawkgirl out there. It's like, here's Dick Grayson. We're hatching the Dick Grayson storyline. Maybe we pay it off in Batman Part 3, but they're not a dynamic duo in this. If anything, they might be reaching the same crime scene at different times. Maybe one has gotten there first, the other has gotten there first in another instance. They're almost tracking each other, but they're no way aligned in this film. That would make more sense to me than trying to create a team. His world does not lend itself to this Batman having a team. This Batman isn't even like at peace with Alfred. Let's think about that. He isn't even at peace with Alfred at home yet, let alone wanting to have Robin on his side. I think if he's in this movie, it's more that he's part of the landscape of Gotham, and that Matt Reeves has a purpose within his broader story arc that he wants filled by Robin. And that's what makes me wonder, maybe James Gunn is just like, no, like we want 2 Batman we're okay with for a little bit, 2 Robin not, and like they're working on that. But anyway, so that just won't go away. And I would say James Gunn's denial was more along the lines of, well, how could you know what's in the script, rather than saying, no, he's not in this movie. So read into that what you want.
You know, when I got back from my vacation, I went to HBO Max to go see if Superman. I was a little bit confused as to, Superman has been released and stuff like that digitally, so I thought I can go on the HBO Max and go watch it. And then when I saw it wasn't there, I said, let me look this up. $30, yo, to buy it digitally? You're not getting no more of my money, man. That's it. You got it already. I saw it twice. I'm not paying for it again. I'll wait for it to be on HBO Max streaming for free when I can watch it anytime. I can watch it anytime, but I have to pay $30. I'm not doing that. No mas, as Roberto Duran would say.
The only thing I thought was interesting about that was that they didn't, given how well it's doing in the US, international wasn't great, but given how well it's doing in the US, over 350 million box office, they released that kind of early. I'm surprised they didn't let that just run in theaters without a VOD for a little while longer. It actually was a shorter release window than some of the other movies they've done. So they must think there is this other cohort of people who did not go to the theater but will give them the $30 sooner rather than later. I don't know. It was an interesting tweak to the strategy.
Apparently, what I read was that James Gunn wanted it to be out
Oh, for
before
Peacemaker?
Peacemaker season
Oh,
2.
that would make
Yes.
sense. Okay. I got you,
Yes.
which is coming this week, and we'll talk about that. And then,
Correct.
it's funny, like, we just got done with the era of no homework, and here's James Gunn unabashedly saying Peacemaker is the direct continuation of the movie, and then talking about this new project that he apparently whipped up. This guy writes like the freaking Barry Allen, but, like, apparently Peacemaker is gonna flow right into this. Funny how Superman does well, controversy or not, does well in the US box office in particular. And now it's the Superman saga.
It came out of nowhere.
It did.
Like,
It did. It came out of nowhere, and it came from a phone call that he got. Whatever was said, make this happen.
you got it.
Let's keep this going. And so now we have a Superman. He got the green light. James Gunn got the green light, and that's all he needs in order for him to get going
Yeah,
on this.
it's 4 pillars.
It's exciting.
It's 4 pillars. But look, David Zaslav has publicly said his personal favorite character is Superman. Like, he knows Batman is the biggest moneymaker. He's not immune to that. But his personal favorite as the CEO is Superman. So he sees a Superman movie that has gotten buzz, gotten good reviews, is making money for him, or at least making enough money. I would say, to be clear, like, it's not clear how much profit, but it has momentum. And so he's telling his underling, seize the momentum. Stop. Where's Mr. Terrific? Quit playing around. Seize the momentum. So what does James Gunn do? He comes in and says, I already have a, quote, very, very worked out treatment for the next film in the, what I'll call the Superman saga. We're scheduling it now. I'm totally done with the treatment. My treatments are incredibly intense. They're not regular. They're 60-page treatments with dialogue and everything. So now I'm just turning that into a script. We're planning out when we're going to shoot it, and it's going to be much sooner rather than later. End quote. And the rumor is it will be shooting as soon as the first half of next year, which means that thing is going to be shooting at the same time as Batman Part 2. So he will have delivered 2 Superman movies by the time Batman Part 2 goes up.
Superman Saga. You could tell where he used to work. You can tell where he used to work. Now he's using Saga. Got the Infinity Saga, the Multiverse Saga, Mutant Saga. Now the Superman Saga.
And he says the new film's events will tie directly into the second season of Peacemaker, with the events in the season, quote, setting up all the rest of the DCU, end quote.
It's about connection.
It's all about connections.
You got to watch Peacemaker. You got to watch Superman. And you got to watch this thing that he refuses to call Superman 2, but it's somehow another Superman movie. So he's telling you got to do homework. And on we go.
One thing I'll say before we move on. The fact that you try to sell this Superman movie as a kid-friendly movie, and now we have to watch Peacemaker, which is not kid-friendly at all, bothers me. But
I agree.
it's whatever, right?
I agree. I mean, he, like I said, I mean, he by and large won that debate. I agree with you. Like, I think there was it is, like I said, there's just parts of Gunn's shtick that I just think are unnecessary, inappropriate, and like I said, I do think they turn away a certain segment of the viewership. But here's where I want to go back to this point we were talking about a little bit in the Bo Knows segment. Lot of Gunn here, folks. I need to see someone else hit one far. Maybe not a home run, but hopefully it is Supergirl. But like, if you look closely, right? So Gunn has fast-tracked his own work here. And get it, Zaslav is ordering. I think Zaslav's ordering to do so. So he's not wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong, but it's like another by James Gunn, all about James Gunn, coming from James Gunn project. So he will have had 4 things go on the board out of the gate. And it's like, and the only other person who I can tell has really contributed something like tangible shot in the can is Anna Nagira, who wrote Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and she's now writing
Wonder Woman?
Yes. So she's now writing Wonder Woman. The Clayface thing is kind of off to the side. We'll see what that does. I'm very excited about that. I think that's a key film in this process. But like, we need to see that hit. We need to see something like that hit before I'll be more in. If this becomes James Gunn has to just get involved and take over all these projects. Aren't you right back to the Snyderverse if that's what happens? How is it any different? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you could say James
Yeah,
Gunn's
it is
tastes
a
are
different.
better or sensibilities are better, but the idea of creating a universe and a writer's room and a team and all this stuff was to kind of broaden the horizons. And if the end result is James Gunn is gonna write, direct, and basically do everything at a micro level, that's great for James Gunn fans, but is it great for mainstream audience fans when, again, Superman did very well for a Superman movie, but it's not gonna make as much money as Man of Steel. It isn't. It's not like the movie did James Cameron money. It's like, it's fine. It did a nice job. People are talking about it. Good job. I give you your flowers for that. But it's like Han Solo said,
Great kid! Don't get cocky!
"You shot down one TIE fighter. Don't get cocky."
Yeah. How much did Man of Steel make?
670, and this is gonna end up around 600. And so if you wanna take China out, because China was 70 million to Man of Steel, it's about dead even, but then obviously inflation, right? So Man of Steel made a lot more inflation adjusted, but non-inflation adjusted, this movie made more in the US, Man of Steel made more overseas, and they wound up about the same. And in retrospect, WB was very disappointed in Man of Steel and is very excited about this. So it's just all, how you lend stuff. But that's my point.
Yeah.
It's not like billions came out for this. That's all I'm saying.
Weapons director floats a Gotham Street show. One of the things that was interesting about this idea, speak to some of the things that we talked about for the Penguin. Batman got to be around. We have to see his aura influence the decision making behind these criminal acts or these individuals. They have to be out there afraid of something. And so, this idea of having individuals speaking of or being wary of Batman being around in this world where Batman has a presence. And again, it's not to say that the Penguin, you didn't feel his presence obviously until the end. We were wondering about him, and then they gave us an indication at the very, 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 very end. This one is a little bit takes a bit of a different approach to that world building and Batman's involvement in that world. Your thoughts on it?
There's layers to this. That's why I wanted to talk about this. So Zach Kreger is the director of Weapons, which is a horror movie that's doing phenomenally well. It's only his second feature film, following Barbarian, which was also like a small time but very critically acclaimed and did well horror movie. So Weapons is going to make a lot of money. Who's the studio that distributed Weapons? Warner Brothers. So you have a Warner Brothers director with his movie blowing up for the studio, who in the press circuit puts his hand up and says, I have a finished script for a Batman universe movie called Henchman, which centers on a low-level thug in the Gotham crime scene who accidentally incapacitates Batman temporarily by luck, drawing the attention of, among others, the Joker and Harley Quinn. This apparently is rumored to draw inspiration, see if this sounds familiar to you, from The Man Who Killed Batman, from Batman the Animated Series. What did we just see go into production?
Clayface.
Which was inspired by Feet of Clay from Batman the Animated Series. So now you're seeing the younger generation of directors who grew up loving Batman the Animated Series start to pitch inspirations, turns, viewpoints in the Batman universe. And this is a guy, this is a director who WB is not going to let get away. I can guarantee you that. Because, like I said, Weapons might do $200 million US off like a $20 million budget as a horror movie. So they ain't letting this guy go anywhere. So this is going to be a real conversation with James Gunn. And this probably will have to wait. I get it. But these are the kinds of ideas that you can do with Batman that you can kind of not do with anyone else. And to your point, his story does have Batman in it. Like, granted, he kind of gets over on him at the start, but presumably we kind of know how this has got to end. I'm for it. Like, where's Mickey? What are we waiting for? Like, these can work, right? You don't need big budgets for these. The idea of point of view in Gotham, we just saw with Penguin. Point of view Penguin is going to win an Emmy. Multiple Emmys, right? Point of view Joker, has been a lot of Joker at this point. But like, my point is, point of view works with Batman. You can do this. I think they're going to do this. I don't know when, but I think with this guy having had this kind of success and being this young, and especially if Clayface hits, I think this is coming.
And I can't wait for something like this. Well, as soon as I read where he got his idea from, as soon as I read his idea, it automatically triggered that episode for Batman the Animated Series for me. There's a lot of good stuff in Batman the Animated Series, man. You can't ignore it.
I mean, effectively, like I said, that is the Bible for a generation of fans. I mean, that if you just think about a certain age, you grew up on it, you watched it every day. I mean, like, there's so many episodes. We talked about Heart of Ice. There's so many episodes in there that you could adapt if you wanted to. And if James Gunn and Peter Safran are serious about creating this like rich fabric of a world and a universe around their characters, allowing for this is what Elseworlds should be meant to be, right? It's like, it's not really Elseworlds because you be leveraging the DCU Batman probably to do this, but it is an offshoot that is really interesting. It lets you dive into something you wouldn't otherwise see. Now, I would argue this is better as a show than a movie. Like, when I heard this idea versus Clayface, I kind of was like, I maybe think this would be one for HBO and HBO Max Penguin style. Give me like a number of episodes where I get to see the incapacitation at the beginning, this kind of low-level thugs kind of interactions with Joker and Rupert Thorne and all these characters. And then, yeah, you bring back Batman back around. Maybe they do it as a movie because it's Kreger. I don't know. But I'm saying, like, I don't think you can go wrong with stuff like this. Because it gives you just enough Batman to be excited, kind of like, but like, it doesn't give you too much Batman that you feel like you're getting like Batman movies all over the place. And like, I got to keep, it's like,
is interesting. And that you build that curiosity with how this may turn out. And again, to go back to what I was recently said about, these new ideas and stuff like that you never heard of. Listen, I'm interested in anything Batman.
Yeah. And so are a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, you got Batman Ninja, which is horrible, but I watched it because it was Batman. I'll never watch it again. but it doesn't steer me away from consuming more Batman because Batman is an interesting character, man.
But I mean, the other thing too is like, you got James Gunn over there saying we're building the Superman saga with a movie that's not Superman 2. How is this any different? I mean, I'm building the Batman saga with a Clayface story, with the man who killed Batman, with, I don't know, if they don't use Victor Fries in Batman Part 2, maybe we do a Heart of Ice, something like, why can't I build a Batman saga around DCU Batman, the most popular character there is out there? Of course I can do that. So they'd be silly not to. Especially, again, in the hands of nobodies, that's one thing. In the hands of people who are showing they can make bank with no budget, they're up-and-comers, like, again, they're going to be having a conversation with Ryan Coogler because he's now at WB. Like, you start having conversations about what those guys want to do, like the talented filmmakers want to do.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
How are we the worst off for that. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah. So, yeah. Oh, it got me excited. Just yeah.
Hopefully, man, we get some
Yeah,
movement on that.
again, it'd be a couple years off, but, like, when he said it, and he's like, "I've already written the script." I was like, "Whoa, this guy's not messing around." He was ready to go. James Gunn's looking down at the bench. He's like, "Put me in, coach." Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready right now. Hopefully, James Gunn doesn't get lost in his
yeah,
own sauce and
he's gotta let him cook.
neglects
He's
what
gotta
could
let the
be.
I think if Clayface works, he'll be more inclined. Supergirl works, he'll be more inclined to step back just a bit, and I think he needs to at some points. He can do his thing, and that's great, but he's gotta let these people cook because they got talent. 'Cause otherwise, it's gonna be like what Bo DeMeo's complaining about in Marvel, right? The slaughterhouse. You go in, it's all one way. Like, it's gotta be some variety here.
And one last thing before we sign off on this episode of DC Roundup on the Nerd Report. Here's the thing with John Campea has made a statement about, and I agree with him about James Gunn being a CEO, what he signed up to do, and be that. He's taking too much time being a writer and a director. I don't believe there are easy tasks, although for him, writing seems to be easy, but directing is a different story, as we already saw him behind the scenes and how involved he was in that. You can't be two places at at once, be a CEO and direct a movie while other things are revolving around what you want and what you want to happen and all these things. John Campea also made the statement that if he wants to direct, okay, come back for do a Justice League movie or whatever the case may be. Here's the thing. I don't think, even though he has had some success with audiences and some, the critics like James Gunn and what he does, but I think there is a trend with him in team movies. Because to me, James Gunn with his dialogue just goes nowhere sometimes for me, and the attempt at funny
Mm.
doesn't work for me. I am just afraid at his team movie wasting away a character in that team, whomever it may be. Hawk Girl was an atrocity for me. And I don't know how you could possibly redeem her, but what time do you give her to be redeemed? You're not
Yeah.
doing the series. And in the movie, I don't know how you make her special enough
Then you I'm
for us
with
to
you.
be excited
I'm with
about.
you.
You
The
know what I'm
casting didn't
saying?
work for me.
So I want James Gunn to be a CEO, man. Don't I know it's tempting to do Justice League, but you, for me, don't have a good track record with team ups. Because look at even Batista was mad at his character. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a travesty for him to do that with other characters in a Justice League film. Because that's a hard thing to do. And I don't know if James Gunn is capable of doing all of those characters in a movie
Yeah. I hear
justice.
you. I hear you. One final note for me before we sign off. Terrence Stamp passed away today at age 87.
Ah, yes. I was looking up
And
his filmography.
legendary actor, but of course, in our world, known for one thing and one thing only, General Zod. Although I would say my favorite Zod line is actually not that one. It's the one where he says to Lex,
Why do you say this to me when you know I will kill you for it?
For I will kill you
his
for.
delivery of that line is so epic. It's the best.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
snap.
But again, a guy who
Yeah.
that role and his voice in particular, and obviously he wound up voicing Jor-El in Smallville, but his voice became so synonymous with that. He really what's interesting to me is that I think Kneel Before Zod kind of became almost as culturally relevant as anything that came out of the Donner Superman, right? Like if you think about like Christopher Reeve is like, oh, truth, justice, the American way. But like he doesn't have a phrase. He doesn't have that one, and like Kneel Before Zod actually like wound up outlasting, that way beyond those films. But he's in some ways over the top, but in some ways outstanding and just sort of perfectly perfectly cast as the villain in that film, and tremendous actor, tremendous voice, and yeah, age 87, a great run for him. So I did want to give a shout out to his passing. But
Do you remember? Because I was reading people in the comments for posts about his passing. Only didn't not remembering anything that he did past uh, Superman 2. I remember him in Bowfinger. Is it Bowfinger? Bowfinger, yes, with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin. Were there any things that you remember him in, Brian?
well,
You mentioned one.
I mean, it's funny because he actually is in a lot of things. So people forget, like, he was in, like, Star Wars Phantom Menace. He has, like, a small part in that. Um, but, no, he popped up. I think the things I'm trying to remember, he was nominated for, was it Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? I think he gets nominated for a Golden Globe for that. He's nominated for an Academy Award in Billy Budd way back in the day. People don't remember, like, he was sort of like a critically acclaimed actor. So, like, that was his first role, and I think he got nominated for an Oscar for it. First role ever in acting. But of course, then he does Superman 2, and that's what everyone remembers. He also has a part in, like, Young Guns. He's in, like, Wall Street. Like, he's in
Yes.
a lot of stuff. If you look closely, he just kind of pops up, and that's sort of what he wound up doing later in his career. But I think because of his voice too, and, like, he kind of had this distinctive, like, look with his eyes. Like, he's always a good, like,
Yes,
you
yes,
could throw
yes.
him in for a couple of minutes, and oh, he's even I know it's ill-fated. He was Stick in Elektra. Do you remember that? He trained Elektra in the Jennifer Garner movie. Oh, because Scott Glenn played Stick in the Netflix show. Terrence Stamp was Stick to Jennifer Garner's Elektra. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you could he just pop up in these, like,
Ah,
weird places. So yeah, we lost a good one there for sure.
yeah. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of this DC Roundup, Batman 2, Superman Saga, Weapons Director, and his idea for a Gotham Street show. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Legend Report.